Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, this is Margo. It's early Wednesday morning, October 26, 2016. I couldn't sleep, so I got up. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning for me here. I've been wanting to do a show about how I met Jesus because people have been asking about my experiences about that. I talked about it on one interview that I was on, but I don't think a lot of people have heard that. And I do work directly with Jesus and God and the angels in the work I do with my clients and implant removal and energy balancing and healing and stuff. And so, and I talk about Jesus quite a bit in some of these talks. And so, people have just asked me, they're always curious. They want to know what my story is. And, I'm always interested to hear how people have met Jesus, what their background is, where they came from, because it's important, and it's important to hear other people's testimonies and other people's stories, because if you haven't met him and you're wanting to and you've been asking, don't stop asking. Eventually it will happen. But I have not been a Christian all of my life. I'll just give you a little background, and if I don't have time to tell my whole story here, I will do a part 2 or part 3 or however many parts we need. But I was born Methodist, raised Methodist in Methodist church. They're pretty easygoing about a lot of stuff. I went to church and Sunday school until I got into college. My parents made me go to church and or Sunday school, until I got into college. And that was okay. I think it was a good background, but I didn't fit in. I knew I didn't fit in, and it's like the kids I didn't have anything in common with any of them. Although when I was very young, like 4 and 5, and going to church, I would be talking to the kids about Jesus. I'd be telling them about Jesus in my Bible classes there, or Sunday school. So anyway, then when I got into college, it was a mixed bag. I did dabble in witchcraft. I saw that it worked. It scared me, so I stopped doing that. I was a Rosicrucian for 9 years, and then in my mid-20s, I met a Sufi teacher and studied under him for 10 years. I studied deep meditation and Kundalini yoga. He did not teach Jesus. He taught deep Kundalini yoga and deep meditation. He was good, but it wasn't Jesus. He was good for what he did, though. Then, after I left the Sufi teacher, I started contacting my angels and guides. That's another story in itself. I wasn't particularly looking to meet Jesus. I wasn't reading the Bible during any of this time. I was into exploring the paranormal. I would always been psychic. I had UFO sightings, starting when I was 19. I've been on this quest for going down rabbit holes and trying to find the truth because of my weird experiences and my own things that have happened. Anyway, then time goes on, and I became a hypnotist, and specifically because I wanted to work with other UFO contactees. I still hadn't met Jesus and wasn't trying to. I wasn't trying to. And then I'll just skip forward. It was a few years ago, and I had a health crisis, and I don't know how much detail I should go into here, but I had a health crisis, and I really thought I was going to die. I really thought I was going to die. I got down to 77 pounds, and I'll tell you, I had intestinal parasites and worms, ropeworms, and I started on a cleansing, trying to get this stuff out of me because I was having problems with having bowel movements. And, I was so impacted, I couldn't even put water in me to do enemas. That's how impacted it was. And I knew that wasn't normal. And I was eating healthy. I had been eating organic, although I was still eating bread at the time and making my own bread. I don't eat bread now. I don't eat wheat at all now. But at the time, I considered myself to have a pretty healthy diet. I was vegetarian. But my digestion was just awful, and it's not been good all my life. I've had problems with digestion. I actually went to an acupuncturist for a while, and he said I had a weak stomach, that I was like born with it. So anyway, it's a long story, but it took me about 2 years to finally get rid of the ropeworms and to get my digestion started back and things working. It's been about 2 years since I finished the process. So it was about 4 years ago all this started. And in the process of getting my intestines cleaned out, I did a lot of enemas. I did all kinds of enemas. And the thing that mainly worked was coffee enemas. I followed the Gerson therapy, if anyone's familiar with that. It's Gersen. I was doing my own modified Gerson thing. He recommended like 5 coffee enemas a day, and he was treating people who had cancer and healing them. And they would do all these coffee enemas and basically just live on juice, fresh juice, green juices. I did a lot of juicing. I didn't just do juice. I did other things too. So that's why I call it a modified Gerson therapy. That helped a lot. But I had candida. I passed 2 big long tapeworms, humongous long tapeworms, probably about 30 feet long. And anyway, I thought that was the end of it once I passed the tapeworms. But oh no, the end was the ropeworms, because they were hanging on till the bitter end. And I was using a rice machine. I was using a zapper. I was doing all kinds of weird enemas. Someday I might tell that story. I was doing hyperbaric chamber therapy. My chiropractor has a hyperbaric chamber in his office, and I was doing that a couple of times a month. And I was doing weekly colonics for a year, a whole year. And I was doing all these enemas and changing my diet and this and that. I started out, when all this began, I'm 5'2", and I weighed 145 pounds, and that was the heaviest I've ever been. I was chunky. I did not like being that weight. And then when all this began, I knew something was wrong. My ankles were swollen. I was dizzy. I didn't have an appetite at all. And I was nauseated a lot of the time. And I found out that was from my liver being so toxic. All of that can be from liver toxicity. I was having a hard time digesting food. I would eat a few bites and then I'd be full. I was thinking I was transitioning and becoming a breatharian, but that was not the case. In fact, I even wanted to be a breatharian. I studied it and I read books on it, and I did the 4-day dry fasting, and that's when I got down to the 77 pounds. And it was during all of this I thought, if I've got worms, I'm just not going to feed them. I'll just starve them. But that didn't work either. They were still there waiting. And so anyway, towards the it was about 10 months into it was when I was just really getting fed up with everything. And I had been talking to God. That's different. Now, God and Jesus, they're considered like the same mind, but God and Jesus are different, and I perceive them differently. And granted, I'd been talking to angels, I'd been having my guides, I've had Ming Fu as a teacher, I've had Brother Juan as a teacher. I mean, I've done a lot of inner contact and explored on a lot of inner realms, but I hadn't really met Jesus. I hadn't met him. And so I'm like, Jesus, if you're real, I need you to help me, and I need to meet you. I want to see you. And I just started asking God, and God too. Before I was talking to God, I was saying, if you're really real, because I was so down with all these health problems, and I hated my job that I was working in. The people I worked for were awful. It was very oppressive. I lived in this ghetto apartment that was awful. And it's like, but that's where I met Jesus during all of this stuff. It's like when I was at my lowest. So I was at this park one day. It has a lake in it. And I was there, and I said, God, if you're real, and Jesus, if you're real, I need to know. I want to know. I'm opening my mind to it. And I got a feeling of peace that came over me as I was looking over the lake, but I didn't really make contact then. That was in July, about three years ago. And then, no, that was in like April or May, about 3 years ago. And then I'm laying on the floor one night doing my coffee enemas. And I was doing these enemas like twice a day. And it would last for hours. I mean hours, because stuff would start coming out. And when the worms started coming out, it was like, oh my God. And you could tell they were worms. And I've got pictures. I mean, I've shown them to like 2 people, 3 people. And it was creepy. It was very creepy. And some of the stuff that came out does not look biological. So that's a whole nother story about what I think this is and where it came from, that I think it is part of a government program. But, that's another whole long story. So I'm laying there, and I'm crying out, and I gave up my battle. I was weak. I was exhausted. I'm like, I can't do this anymore, and I really didn't want to live. And I said, Jesus and God, if you're real, and if you want me to be here, and you have a mission for me, you keep saying you have a mission for me, because God kept saying, I've got a mission for you. You're not supposed to die. And I'm like, I need to know. And besides knowing my mission, which I didn't know until recently, I needed healing. I needed healing because these worms were killing me. They had filled up my intestines and just kept coming back and coming out, and more and more and more. And it's like I couldn't deal with it. And I mean, how would you like being on the floor doing enemas for 6 or 8 hours a day and working a full-time job and just seeing no hope, and just, the weight just kept coming off and coming off and coming off. I got down to 77 pounds with this from 145. I'm now 105, which is a healthy weight for me. But so I'm laying there and just praying. And I had been doing spiritual warfare. I had been doing binding and casting out, but not in a serious way. I'd been starting to do it some, and I saw that it was working. But then I'm laying there, and I'm like, I really want to die. I'm just going to will myself to die and just get this over with. And all of a sudden, this peace came over me, profound peace. And in my mind's eye, Jesus appeared to me, and he said, let me take this burden from you. And he goes, this is my battle. And I felt a weight being lifted off of me, and I got a lot of information in later. But basically what had happened was Satan had chosen my intestines as a battleground. And it was a battle. And the battle was not over when Jesus came in. The hardest part of it was the last month. And that he came in like July of that year. And then I was guided to the correct herbal combination. It was Kroger's wormwood combination. I was taking that along with doing my enemas and my colonics. And doing my zapping and my write machine and all this stuff, that I finally got rid of everything. But once Jesus said, "Let me take this burden from you. This is my battle. Let me fight it for you," it started getting easier. And then the worms started really coming out and releasing and coming out. It was just one after another, and it was so ugly and putrid, and I wouldn't wish this on anyone. But a lot of people have this stuff in them, and they don't even realize it. And these things have a consciousness. They have a consciousness that will influence you too. But it was a satanic force trying to kill me, and I told Jesus, and I told God, I said, if you help me heal from these worms, if you help me heal, I will do whatever you want me to do. I don't know what it is, and I wasn't a big Christian at that point. I mean, I wasn't reading the Bible and, talking about Jesus and everything. I was just like, I really need help. I was praying some, but I had not really said, I give it up and I surrender. And you have to get to that point where you are ready to give up everything. And so that's how I was broken. I was broken of my ego, my will, what I thought my will was, what I thought I wanted and needed. And it broke me to prepare me for Jesus and to prepare me for this path and to prepare me for the work that I'm doing with people. I mean, this is not easy work, going in and kicking demons out of people and helping them heal of lifelong afflictions that they've had. But it's happening. It's happening. And it's only because I was healed. And only by the grace of God and by Jesus was I healed. Or I would not be here today sharing my story with you. And then, so he started walking with me, and I started praying. He's appeared to me several times before I started working with him. Now with my clients, he appears to me in all my sessions. He's just right there working with me and doing healings with the clients too. And the angels are there. And this is how I work, and this is the only way I work now. But at one point, I was in the hyperbaric chamber, and this was months before that night where I met him. And I was in the hyperbaric chamber, and my mind was just totally clear and peaceful, and a man's face appeared to me, and I'm thinking it was him. I mean, the feeling that came over me was of great peace and that you're going to be okay. But I didn't, I wasn't asking to see Jesus at that point, but his face did appear, and it did not look like the pictures. It did not look like most of the pictures that you see. He was rugged looking. He had, in my mind's eye, he had dark, like wiry hair that was kind of wild and sticking out. His face it was weathered. It was a weathered face, like someone who had been working outside a lot. It had some deep wrinkles. He was very powerful, very muscular, and his eyes, though, had galaxies in them. They were like galaxies and like piercing the light and the stars in them. And I'm like, oh my God. And I felt different. When I saw this man, I felt different. And it felt like Jesus to me. And he appeared, that same face appeared another couple of times. And then that night when I was just at my wit's end and I gave it up, then he came and started making my burden easier and making the healing process easier. And by the end of September 2 years ago, I was worm-free, and I stopped the enemas, and I stopped the colonics. I still do them occasionally, either enemas or colonics, occasionally, just to get everything really, like, cleared out, if I feel like I need to, or if I'm doing some fasting. I don't do a lot of fasting, but I did a lot of fasting during that time, a day or two at a time. But that's kind of how it happened. And then my walk with him has grown. Then I started doing a lot of spiritual warfare, and I was binding and casting out the demons connected to the worms, and that's when it really took off, and I was rebuking Satan because I realized what I was up against then, but it took me a long time to realize what I was up against and to realize it was not something that I could heal from by myself. This was supernatural, and I don't know where these worms were coming from or where they were coming, from another dimension, or how they were manifesting in my body so quickly. And it would be like I'd get rid of them in another couple of days. Here comes some more huge long ones. And it's just the way it was. But that's my story. That's my testimony. And so he saved my life, and I owe it to him. And I'm keeping my promise, and I am boots on the ground. And if people don't like it, I don't care. They can go find someone else to work with that they don't like to hear about Jesus. I don't sit around quoting a bunch of Bible verses. I talk about my experience, and I introduce people to Jesus so that they can have their experience. Now, a little bit about this walk and doing this, and I know I have people come to me with spiritual warfare issues and demonic issues. That I can help them get rid of those entities and those demonic forces, but you have to be willing to change your life and change your behaviors so that those things don't come back. Otherwise, it's not going to do any good. I can kick them out, but unless you are committed to doing the work and you make those behavior changes, it won't last, and they'll be back. So it's not easy. This world is not easy. It has become dark because of Satan is ruling here, but it's only because we have given him the authority to rule here. And I'm learning this in my classes. I'm taking classes from Daniel Duval. He's an amazing spiritual warrior. He's just amazing. Check him out, Daniel Duval and Bride Movement. He works with satanic ritual abuse victims, people who have been subjects of government mind control, different things. And I'm getting a lot of the same kind of people in my work, and I really hope to learn a lot from him, but I'm learning that it's because of we gave our authority away, and we didn't know it. We didn't know we gave our authority away, but we can take it back. And I'm learning how, and I'm teaching my clients how. That we can take our authority back from Satan, and we can kick him out of our lives and kick his influence out of our lives, because he does not come to help us at all. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Jesus came to show us how to live and how to manifest and be the divine, because he was divine. But we have to be taught. You can't just come out of the womb and know this stuff. You have to be mentored and you have to be taught. And I'm helping people and as I'm learning. So that's my testimony. I know Jesus is real, and I know I wouldn't be here without him, and he's helping me day by day, moment by moment. So I hope this message helped a lot of people. My website is margoshealingcorner.com, and I have a YouTube channel. It's Margo's Healing Corner. And I'm a hypnotist, holistic life coach, and spiritual healer. My focus recently has been working with people to take out implants, energetic imprints, to get them balanced up and do a bunch of healing with them and get them reconnected with their divine, and help them find their mission. So, and I also do other work in hypnosis. My specialty when I studied hypnosis was stress management, and God knows we all need help with that these days. So that's my message for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. So be safe and be strong, and don't be afraid to ask for Jesus to come into your life, and don't be afraid to ask for help. We think we know what we need, but we really don't. We really don't. Only God knows. So thanks for listening, and God bless, and good night until next time.